in the great halls of the Galactic Council, thousands of species had gathered, from beasts made of fire to creatures with 1,000 eyes. They all sat in silence as the giant screen showed a list. The official ranking of species strength. At the very bottom of the list, glowing in red letters, was one name. Humans ranked last. The council laughed. Some hissed, some growled. One alien with blue skin chuckled. They can't even breathe in space without a suit. Another, with metal arms, added, no claws, no wings, no venom, just soft skin and loud voices. For centuries, humans had been ignored in galactic matters. No one feared them. No one even noticed them. They lived quietly on their small blue planet, far from the center of the galaxy. But that was about to change. Far away from the Galactic Council, in a dark corner of space, a small alien scouting ship approached Earth. Inside were Varnak soldiers, tall and cold-blooded, their eyes glowing like ice. They had come for one reason, to take a specimen, not an adult, not a soldier, but a child. Human DNA is weak, the Varnak leader said, but maybe their young hold secrets. Take one. They landed in a quiet forest. A little boy was playing with his dog. He laughed, carefree, unaware of the eyes watching him from the shadows. The Varnak took him. The dog barked, growled, and even bit one of the aliens before being stunned. But the boy, he screamed. Not in fear, but in anger. A scream, so loud, so full of rage, it echoed into the stars. Back on Earth, the boy's parents reported him missing. The authorities started a search. But it wasn't long before Earth's advanced military picked up strange energy readings, ones not from Earth. Satellite images showed a flash in the forest. A ship. Something had landed. Something had taken. General Arden, a decorated human commander, stared at the screen in silence. His fists clenched. They took a child, he said. They made a mistake. His second-in-command looked confused. Sir, do we even know who they are? General Arden looked at him, his eyes burning. No, he said, but they're going to know who we are. The humans sent a signal into deep space. A message not of peace, not of fear, but of promise. To whoever took our child, we are coming. You will not be forgiven. You will not be spared. Most alien species would send a team to talk, or threaten, or wait for help. But not humans. Within hours, Earth's first deep spaceship, the Iron Will, was launched. Not a warship, just a small, fast vessel carrying 5 of Earth's best soldiers. They didn't carry big bombs. They didn't need alien tech. They carried rage. Meanwhile, on the Varnak ship, the child sat in a metal cell. He didn't cry. He didn't beg. He stared. One of the guards laughed. Look at him, so weak. The child whispered, my dad's going to find me. The guard laughed again. Let him try. As the Iron Will approached the Varnak ship, sensors went wild. The aliens didn't expect humans to come so far. They thought Earth was too primitive. But that was the first of many mistakes. The human soldiers boarded the Varnak vessel like shadows, silent, fast, angry. One by one the Varnak guards fell, not because humans were stronger, but because they were angrier. A soldier named Mason broke through the last door. There, in the cell, sat the boy. His eyes lit up. Dad. Mason smiled. Let's go home. Back at the Galactic Council, the news arrived. A human team attacked a Varnak ship. One council member said. Impossible, said another. They're ranked last. But the images didn't lie. The Varnak ship was destroyed. The child was rescued. The attackers were human. Panic spread. If they can do this now, whispered an old alien, what happens when they evolve? No one laughed this time. In the darkness of space, the humans didn't cheer. They didn't celebrate. They simply sent another message. We are not the strongest. We are not the smartest. But if you touch our people, we will find you. The galaxy had ranked humans last, but they had forgotten one thing. A cornered human doesn't run. He fights, and now, the fight had just begun. The Varnak Empire had never been defeated. For hundreds of years, they ruled their part of the galaxy with fear. They crushed rebellions, burned planets, and made species kneel. To them, strength was everything and weakness was meant to be punished. When the news came that one of their ships had been attacked by humans, many Varnak laughed. "Impossible," said Commander Threx. "Those soft earth-dwellers, that has to be a lie." But when video logs showed Varnak soldiers being taken down by humans fast, brutal, and without hesitation, Threx stopped laughing. "We underestimated them," said one officer. "No," Threx replied, "we insulted them." In response, the Varnak Empire made their move. They sent a larger ship toward Earth, not for war but for warning. Their plan was simple: land in a human city, show off their power, scare the people, and force Earth to surrender future resistance. They chose a city called New Boston. Threx stood on the bridge of the warship Varnak's Wrath, staring at the blue and green planet on the screen. "Send the message," he said. The voice echoed across human satellites. "You had one warning. You broke it. We come now not to destroy, but to dominate. Kneel, and you will live. Resist, and you will vanish, back on Earth." The message was received loud and clear. Panic spread. News channels ran non-stop footage of the alien ship approaching. People packed their bags. Some hid, others prayed. But in one military base, a group of humans didn't panic. They prepared. General Arden stood once again before his soldiers. His voice was calm, but his eyes burned with something dangerous. "They came to scare us," he said. "Let's show them what fear really feels like." The Varnak ship landed on the edge of New Boston. Their warriors marched out, tall and armored, their weapons glowing with power. Citizens watched from windows. Cameras rolled. The world held its breath. Commander Threx stepped forward and spoke through a translator. "Kneel and accept your place, or fight and vanish." No one answered. For a moment, silence covered the city like a blanket. Then, gunfire, not from the army, not from tanks, from rooftops. Human snipers had surrounded the alien force from every angle. Silent, invisible, and waiting. And when the order came, they didn't miss. Within seconds, the front line of Varnak soldiers fell. Their armor cracked, their weapons dropped, and panic filled their eyes. Ambush. Someone screamed in Varnak language. But it was too late. Human troops poured in from alleyways and side streets, moving like shadows. They didn't roar or scream. They didn't fight with rage. They fought with focus. Every bullet had a target. Every step had purpose. The Varnak tried to retreat, but their ship had already been surrounded by human engineers, who hacked its controls and locked it down. Trapped, outnumbered. OUTMATCHED. Commander Threx was dragged through the dirt, bleeding and defeated. He looked around, confused and angry. "We are stronger," he shouted. "We have better weapons, better armor." A human soldier looked at him and said quietly, "But we have something you don't." "What?" The soldier leaned in. "Loss, pain, and memory." Back in the stars, the Galactic Council was watching. Footage of the battle spread across planets. Species who once ignored humans now whispered their name with fear, not because of their technology but because of how they fought. Precise, cold, relentless. One council member turned to another and said, "They didn't just defeat the Varnak, they hunted them." The other replied, "We made a mistake. We called them weak." "No," the first one whispered. "They let us think that, on Earth, the people didn't throw parties or celebrate. The child who had been taken now played safely in his yard again. The parents who had cried now held their son close. But deep in every human heart, a fire had been lit. They had seen their enemy. They had won, and they knew more would come. In a quiet room, General Arden recorded a message to those watching us from the dark. We are not seeking war, we are not here to conquer, but we do not forget, and we do not forgive. He stared into the camera, eyes hard as steel. You thought we were weak. That was your first mistake. In the heart of the galaxy, inside a giant space station, the Galactic High Council gathered again. This time, the room was not filled with laughter. This time, there was silence. Screens around the chamber played the same video. Varnic's soldiers, once feared across the stars, now lay on the ground, broken, defeated, and captured by humans. The delegates watched in shock. These creatures were ranked last, whispered the insectoid representative from Kralax. How did they do this? No advanced weapons. No space fleet, added the scaled ambassador from Trovon. They should have lost. But they didn't, said Elder Veller of the Rinnex species. His voice trembled. They won. A soft hum filled the air as an ancient alien walked into the chamber. His skin was gray like stone, his eyes glowing gold. It was Archivist Daruna, being older than most stars. He stepped forward and placed a dusty book on the table. I warned you, he said. A long time ago. The council turned toward him. What is this? Asked the chairman. Darun opened the book. Inside were old records, forgotten texts, and strange drawings. He flipped to one page, where the image of a human warrior was burned into the paper. Thousands of years ago, Darun began. Humans were visited by explorers from our side of the galaxy. Those explorers never returned. Some delegates chuckled nervously. Darun's eyes narrowed. That wasn't a joke. He pointed to the drawing. These beings, humans, they are not the most intelligent, nor the strongest, but they feel emotion in ways we do not understand. Deep anger, unshakable love, endless grief, and from these emotions, they find strength. He paused. They don't fight for power. They fight for each other, and when they are hurt, they do not stop. The council room grew tense. What are you suggesting? Asked one nervous ambassador. I'm suggesting, Darun said slowly, that we stop thinking of them as a weak species. He tapped the table and start preparing for something worse. Far from the council, on a cold and broken moon, the survivors of the Varnak force were recovering. Their bodies were patched up, but their minds were not. Commander Threx sat alone. His armor scratched and burnt. He had faced hundreds of enemies in his life, monsters with teeth, machines with minds, soldiers with strength, but never humans. What are they? He whispered to himself. Back in Earth's orbit, inside the command center of the Iron Will. General Arden stood in front of a screen, showing intercepted messages from the Galactic Council. They're scared, his officer said. They should be, Arden replied. But he wasn't smiling. He looked tired. Not because of battle, but because he knew what was coming next. They thought they could scare us with ships, he said. But now they know fear lives here too. He tapped his chest. In our hearts, in the Galactic Council chamber, voices were rising. We should contain them now, shouted one. No, we must make peace, said another. If we wait, they'll spread. Darun raised a hand. You all speak of humans like a virus, he said. But you forget. They've shown restraint. That quieted the room, he continued. They have not attacked our planets. They did not take prisoners. They only struck those who struck first. One delegate asked, So, what do we do? Darun answered, We learn, we prepare. And most of all, we don't provoke them again. But in a dark corner of the galaxy, someone else was watching. Not a council member, not a general, but a warlord, being from a hidden empire that never followed the council's rules. He grinned as he watched the footage of human battles. So, the little ones bite, he said with a chuckle. Let's see how hard. He turned to his fleet of warships. Prepare the jump. Set course for Earth. Meanwhile, on Earth, a young human boy stood in his backyard, looking up at the stars. It was the same boy who had once been taken. He didn't feel scared anymore. He felt ready. Behind him, his father walked out with 2 cups of hot chocolate. Looking for aliens again, he joked. The boy nodded. I think they're looking at us. His father smiled. Good. Let them see who we really are. The humans had defended themselves. The galaxy had taken notice. But the real war hadn't even started yet. After the attack on Earth and the failed invasion by the Varnak, humanity had changed. They were no longer waiting. They were planning. Inside Earth's most secure military base, Fort Solish generals, scientists, and strategists gathered around a glowing map of the galaxy. Every planet that supported the Varnak Empire was marked in red. General Arden stood at the center. His voice was calm, but heavy. They took one of our children, he said. They invaded our world. Now they'll learn what it means to face Earth's fury. No one clapped. No one cheered. They simply nodded. They were ready. Within weeks, Earth launched its first long-range space fleet. Not massive in number, but deadly in purpose. The fleet was led by the Retribution, a stealth-class warship armed with Earth's most advanced technology, built in secret, designed in silence, and fueled by one goal. Never let this happen again. On board, Captain Myra Kale reviewed her mission orders. Strike hard, it read. Strike fast. No negotiations. She looked up at her team of soldiers, each one trained, focused, and burning with quiet anger. We're not going to scare them, she said. We're going to make them remember us. Their first target was a Varna-controlled relay to send messages across their empire. Earth wanted one message to be sent. We're coming. The Retribution approached in total silence. No warning, no lights, just shadows in space. As soon as they were in range, Earth's cyber unit took control of the station's systems. The Varnak officers didn't even have time to react before the lights shut off and alarms blared, and then the humans entered. It was quick, clean, brutal. The soldiers moved like ghosts, fast, silent, precise. They didn't destroy the station. They didn't kill everyone. They left one survivor, shaking, bleeding, and holding a simple human-made data crystal. Inside it was a message from General Arden himself. You touched Earth. Now Earth touches back. This is not revenge. This is justice. The survivor returned to Varnak space and delivered the message. The Varnak High Command was shaken. This isn't how humans fought before, one commander said. They're evolving, another whispered, learning faster than we expected. The Varnak leader, Supreme Strategist Culver, slammed his fist against the table. Then we strike again, crush them before they spread. But deep down, he was afraid. Back on Earth, news of the missions. Success spread fast. People didn't party. They didn't dance in the streets. They simply stood taller. They knew their soldiers were out there, not just defending but making sure no one ever tried again. Young people joined military academies. Scientists built new tech. Engineers launched secret satellites into deep space. Earth was no longer hiding in the shadows of deep space. Another human ship moved silently toward its next target, a hidden weapons facility used by the Varnak to build energy bombs. Earth didn't want those bombs to reach anyone, so they sent a squad called Black Echo. Lead by Sergeant Leon Rourke. The team landed on the asteroid silently and entered through the ventilation shafts. Inside, Varnak guards joked and drank. They believed no one could find them here. They were wrong. Within minutes, explosions ripped through the facility targeted planned. Surgical. No human lives were lost, and by morning, the facility was space dust. News of the second attack reached the Galactic Council. Once again, silence filled the chambers. This is no longer defense, a voice said. This is retaliation. Archivist Darun stood and nodded. And it's only the beginning. In the hidden empire of the warlord watching from afar, things were different. He smiled. Now they fight with anger, he whispered. Good. Let them get strong. Let them challenge the old powers. He turned to his assistant. Prepare our spies. I want to know everything about Earth. On Earth, Captain Myra Kale stared out at the stars from the deck of the Retribution. She didn't feel joy or victory. She felt clarity. This galaxy thought we were soft, she said. But we are fire in the dark, and fire spreads. Her second-in-command nodded. Double quotes, where to next, Captain? She smiled. Wherever fear lives. The humans were no longer just defending. They were hunting. The Varnock Empire had ruled over 200 planets. Their laws were cruel. Their rule was brutal. They believed fear kept everyone in line, and for centuries, it worked. But now, something was changing. Whispers began across the stars. One sentence was being repeated over and over. The humans are coming. In deep space, Captain Myra Kale stood at the center of her ship, the Retribution. Her eyes were fixed on a star map. 3 red dots flashed each, one a Varnack supply world. She turned to her crew. We don't burn civilians. We don't bomb blindly. We cut the spine and let the body fall. Her soldiers nodded. This wasn't about destruction. This was about breaking control. One strike at a time. Their first target, Zeroth Prime, a world where the Varnack trained. New soldiers. It was called the heart of the Empire. The humans didn't go in loud. They landed during a dust storm, moved like shadows, slipped through defenses, and by the time the Varnack noticed, the command tower was already on fire. Panic spread fast. Young recruits dropped their weapons and ran. Officers tried to rally them, but no one listened. One whispered, they said the humans were just angry. Another replied, they lied. The humans are unstoppable. By morning, the academy was gone, on nearby worlds. The news hit like a shockwave. The Varnock people, once proud and silent, began to speak up. Why are we at war with Earth? They asked. Why did we take their child? Why did we provoke them? For the first time, the Empire had no answers, and rebellions began. On the planet Neskari, ruled by Varnack generals for generations, the native species had always obeyed, but now they saw human broadcast stories of courage, resistance, freedom. They rose up. When Varnack troops tried to stop them, messages appeared on city walls. This is what you taught us. Power belongs to the brave. If humans can stand, so can we. The rebellion didn't just spread, it exploded. In the Galactic Council, chaos reigned. World after world reported revolts. Markets collapsed. Fleets refused orders. Old alliances broke. Ambassadors from Varnack cried out, Earth is behind this. Archivist Darun replied calmly, Earth didn't start your fall. They just gave the galaxy the courage to see your weakness. The truth was clear now. The Varnack Empire wasn't falling. It was crumbling. From inside, back on Earth. General Arden watched the news feeds in silence. Varnack colonies surrendering. Weapons being dropped. Statues being torn down. He didn't smile. We didn't destroy their empire, he said. We made them see the truth. Captain Myra Kale sent a new transmission into space. To every planet under Varnack rule. If you want freedom, we won't stop you. If you want peace, we'll stand beside you. But if you threaten us, we will return. In the dark corners of space, the warlord from the hidden empire watched with deep interest. He wasn't afraid. He was impressed. These humans, they don't just win battles, he said. They change the rules. He looked to his advisors. Tell our spies to stay close. Something bigger is coming. Meanwhile, on a small ship, a group of Varnack civilians fled toward a neutral planet. One of them looked out the window and whispered, "I used to think humans were nothing. I used to laugh at them." An old Varnak woman beside him said gently, "We all did. That was our mistake. The humans didn't plant flags. They didn't build colonies. They simply stepped back and watched the old empire fall apart." The galaxy had learned a new lesson. Sometimes, the quietest planet holds the loudest fire, and now that fire had burned, through steel, through walls, through fear, in her cabin. Captain Mira Kale sat alone. She opened a small photo of her family back on Earth. She smiled softly. This wasn't revenge, she said. This was a warning. The empires had laughed at humans once. Now they watched their own cities fall. Now, they understood. The Varnak Empire was nearly gone. Their colonies had fallen. Their leaders had vanished. Their name, once feared across the stars, was now spoken, only in shame. But one last piece remained. The Varnak homeworld, the heart of their power, and they had turned it into a fortress. General Arden stood inside Earth's high command chamber, eyes fixed on a hologram of the Varnak planet. "It ends here," he said. "No more speeches, no more warnings. This was the final stand, the last fight, and humanity would not walk away quietly." Captain Mira Kale stood on the bridge of the Retribution. The fleet behind her was silent, dozens of ships, thousands of soldiers. They weren't there for war, they were there for justice. "Begin descent," she ordered. The fleet moved like a single storm toward the Varnak homeworld, swift, dark, and unstoppable. On the ground, the Varnak had placed every weapon they had. Defense towers, orbital cannons, energy fields. They knew what was coming. They were waiting for it. Inside a dark bunker, the Varnak Supreme Commander Culver gave his final order. "Do not surrender. Fight to the last soldier." One young officer looked up and asked, "But, for what?" Culver growled, "For our pride." But even he didn't believe it anymore. The humans landed in waves. Tanks rolled over, steel roads, soldiers dropped from ships. Snipers took positions in the mountains, and in the skies above. Earth's drones blacked out the stars. The battle began. It wasn't easy. The Varnak fought with everything they had: lasers, bombs, ambushes. But the humans didn't break. They moved with purpose. They remembered the child who had been taken. They remembered the first message: kneel or vanish. Now, they had their own message: we do not kneel, and we do not forget. Sergeant Leon Rourke led a small team through the enemy's final base. Every hallway was filled with traps, but they kept moving. One of his soldiers asked, "Why do we keep fighting?" Rourke answered, "Because they never thought we could. And now, we show them we always could." In the sky above, the Retribution took a direct hit. Alarms rang, sparks flew. But Captain Mira Kale didn't flinch. "Reroute power," she said. "We're not leaving until it's over." The ship dove lower, dropping supplies and covering fire for the soldiers below. No one turned back. In the heart of the Varnak capital, General Arden's command pod landed. He stepped out alone, unarmed. In front of him stood Culver, holding a plasma blade. "You came here to end me?" Culver shouted. Arden shook his head. "I came here to watch you end yourself." Culver charged. But before he could strike, a flash of light struck from above. A drone shot the blade from his hand. Culver dropped to his knees, breathing, heavy, beaten, not by weapons, but by will. The battle was over. The Varnak surrendered. The last soldiers dropped their arms. Their people came out of bunkers with hands raised. And in that moment, the war that had started with one stolen child was finished. No flags were planted. No parades were held. Humanity did not demand trophies. They simply sent one last message across the galaxy. "We are not here to rule you. We are not here to destroy. But if you threaten Earth again, we will return. And next time, we won't be so patient." As the Retribution rose back into space, Mira looked down at the burning ruins of the Varnak capital. She didn't smile. She didn't speak. She just stared. because she knew what it had cost and what it had saved. Back on Earth, people watched the victory broadcast with quiet pride. The boy who had once been taken by aliens sat with his family. He held his father's hand and whispered, "They're not coming back, right?" His father replied softly, "No, son, not anymore." In the deepest part of space, the hidden warlord watched it all unfold. He laughed. "So, they've won." He turned his captains. "Prepare everything. The humans think this war is over." He smiled darkly. "But the galaxy has only begun to change." But for now, on Earth, there was peace. The sky was quiet, and the stars, once full of fear, now held respect. Humanity had stood alone and had not fallen. Peace had returned to the stars. The Varnak Empire was gone, its flags burned, its statues broken, and its people silent. The war was over, but something had changed in the galaxy forever. The Galactic Council met once again, this time in a quieter, humbler hall. There were no loud speeches, no mockery, no jokes about humans, only silence. On the screen behind them was a new version of the galactic species ranking. Everyone leaned in as the list slowly appeared. This time, humans weren't last. They weren't even in the middle. They were first, but not under strongest, not under smartest, not even under most advanced. They were ranked under a new category, the angriest species. Archivist Darun stood up and addressed the chamber. "We used to think emotions made a species weak," he said. "We believed logic, power, and technology were all that mattered." He paused. "We were wrong." He turned to the new screen videos of human soldiers rescuing the weak, protecting the innocent, and defending their world with fire in their hearts. "Humans showed us something we forgot," Darun said. "That love creates courage, that pain becomes strength, that anger can become justice." On Earth, there was no parade, no celebration. People simply returned to life. The boy who had been kidnapped was now safe. He played with his dog again, under a blue sky, but his eyes were different, older, wiser, and quietly proud. His father watched him and whispered, "They'll never touch us again." Captain Mira Kale sat on a quiet beach near the sea. Her boots were off, her hair loose. For the first time in years, she could rest. A child ran up to her with a toy spaceship. "Are you a real captain?" he asked. She smiled. "I was." "Did you fight the aliens?" "Yes," she said, "but not to destroy them." The boy looked confused. "Then why?" She looked at the sky. "To protect home." In space, Earth's ships did not spread like conquerors. They didn't take over new planets. They didn't enslave, control, or dominate. They simply watched, and the galaxy noticed. On distant worlds, children now played human soldier instead of Varnak, commander. Old species once known for pride began teaching humility, and when fear crept in again, mothers whispered to their young, "Be kind, be brave, or the humans might come." But not everyone learned, far away, in a system not yet known to Earth. The warlord who had watched from the shadows prepared his armies. He stared at a glowing map of Earth's space and smiled. "They are strong," he said, "but their anger burns them from the inside." He tapped the screen. "They are not gods. They can still bleed." But even he felt a chill, because deep down, he knew these humans weren't like others. They didn't fight for glory. They didn't fight to rule. They fought when they were wronged, and when they fight like that, the galaxy burns. General Arden, now older, stood before Earth's next generation of leaders. He placed a hand on the shoulder of a young cadet. "Don't become like them," he said. "Who?" the cadet asked. "The ones who thought they were untouchable," Arden replied. He looked at the stars. "Let them remember, we didn't start the war, but we finished it." In the grand hall of Earth's new interstellar council, Carved into the stone wall were 6 words. We weren't the weakest, just the angriest. And under those words, a warning in many languages. Leave Earth in peace. Because now the galaxy knew, ... You can fight humans. You can even hurt them. But when you break their heart, they will become something else. Not beasts, not machines, but something worse. The angriest species. Hi, this story is made by a human just for fun. It's not real. All the characters and events are made up. Thanks for watching.